Tonight, Joe reveals his agricultural secrets.
This is a watch field, and if I fertilize it and plow it and water it, it'll start growing Rolexes and I'll get rich harvesting my watches?
Steve Stillman's The Problem of Evil.
Yeah, look, there's problem happening where there's like kids dying from cancer. Wah.
And I drop a mad beat.
Why hello, my fellow apes. I hope you... Oh wait, go.
You can have that.
Why hello, my fellow apes.
Oh.
Come on! Why hello, my fellow apes.
Yes, and welcome back to Low Fruit, where of course we go rummaging in the dirt for the lowest possible theologians to respond to.
Today we're going to be looking at a video from Gospelosion, and it's by a guy called Joe Ensley.
Joe!
He's a pastor on YouTube, and well, let's just get straight to it, I say.
It's obviously very useful for us as atheists to know what sort of secret weapons they will be bringing to the table, so...
Yeah, if you weren't convinced before, you're about to.
I am so pumped to be talking about today's questions. It is one of my favorite ones, and I'm going to share my secret weapon with you, so hang on to your hats for that.
Secret.
I didn't bring a hat.
Why not?
Well,
We're going to have to get the Christmas hats out again.
I didn't think I'd need one.
It's nearly Christmas time anyway.
It's a mistake on his part to assume that we'd be wearing hats.
It's true. That's good. He wears hats, so he assumes we'll be wearing hats.
That's a fallacy, that.
That's just bigotry, sir.
How to witness to an atheist. And like I said, I'm going to share my secret weapon with you on this from the Bible that I think is really going to change the way you approach atheists. But if you came here looking for help, you're trying to witness to an atheist.
See, what I like already, though, is we've got a secret weapon in the Bible to use against atheists. Right?
This is up, isn't it?
As if atheists haven't already engaged with the Bible in some way, shape or form to know that it's BS.
I wonder if the secret weapon is the moral relativism of slavery being okay at one point, but then not in today. I wonder if that's going to be the secret.
Came here looking for help. You're trying to witness to an atheist. I'm glad you're here. Let's talk about it. So, jumping right into this, an atheist is someone that doesn't believe there is a God. That is the definition of an atheist. But let me tell you something.
It's a definition of an atheist. Fair enough. I get it. But...
Yeah, I mean, generally, if you're going to be talking to the atheist, the best thing to do is going to be ask what their definition of it is first.
Yeah, precisely. So
you've got the belief that there are no gods, the lack of belief that there are gods. You know, so it depends on if you're going for positive affirmation or just unconvinced.
He's essentially specified from the get-go that he's talking to people that affirm positive atheism, which is to say,
there are no gods.
Very few atheists, actually. I mean, I fall into this category. Do you? Do you fall into this category? Do you affirm that there are no gods?
I would affirm that no religion that has been presented to me is convincing. So none of...
So no, actually, lack. You're more of a lack.
So I'm more of a lack. None of the religions that I've been presented with, I don't believe... In fact, I would say all of the religions I've been presented with are false.
Yep.
However, I'd say possibility is open for...
Well, this is the thing. In order to be a positive atheist in this sense, to affirm that there are no gods, you need to know quite a lot about philosophy. You need to have a decent understanding of epistemology, ontology, metaphysics, ethics. You have to actually have like a fully formed view before you're going to get to positive atheism.
Yeah, and I can't read all of that because that'll break this channel. We need,
No, that's for our. That's for our. Anyway, let's get back to the fun stuff.
Layman.
Okay, let's go. Yeah, layman.
Yes, I know it's layman.
That you need to understand going into. And I don't suggest you start a conversation with this, but it's knowledge that you need to interpret this well. First of all, as I like to tell people, the A in atheist stands for angry. Here's the thing.
What? Angry?
And I don't think either of us look angry right now. We look surprised that is the conclusion more than anything else. But...
Also, do you want to know a really good way of making atheists angry?
Tell
Assume
them
that they're angry from the get-go. What's that? You don't believe in virgin births and inherited sin? You must be angry.
Yes.
What are you doing?
I don't know if he's aware, but engaging in a conversation with someone by assuming their positions before they've given them to you, it's never a good way to start that dialogue.
Yeah, don't...
Because you're gonna be trying to tackle it at an angle that is not ever going to work.
This is the kind of stuff that flies in apologetic circles, but I don't think they understand how wrong this is. Suppose right now I was to say, listen, if you're going to talk with a Christian, just keep this in your back pocket, okay? You're talking to someone that's dumb. That is not acceptable. Like, you can't make an assumption like that, and yet...
Here's the funny thing, though, if you take it another way. If what he's saying is if the A in atheist stands for angry, you've got angry theist.
Yeah, you've got
which
an
is
angry,
not what which is not what an atheist
angry
is.
Theist. Yeah.
The funny thing to me is if you were to assign the A to anything, it would be apathetic.
Yeah.
Like, on the position of, is there a God or not? It's like, I don't actually really care. It's not going to affect how I live my life.
Well, look, since we're in this game, do you know what the C stands for in Christianity, Reese? Cop-out.
No one doesn't believe there's a God. In fact...
Straight up, it's that one again, isn't it?
It's presupposition, I told you.
Yes, no one doesn't. Let's boil it down to is basically it's that whole Romans thing of everyone believes a God in their heart.
Do you breathe? Oh, you're presupposing God, Reese.
So
that's your secret weapon.
So the problem is
the secret weapon is the thing that
he's preempted the anger. The anger comes after.
This is why.
Yeah. The anger becomes after it because
if you say to someone, "But you do believe in a God." That's when they're going to get angry with you because you're telling them what they believe. Is that ever going to work for convincing them to follow your... No, it's not.
It's funny, right? You go up to a Christian and you say, listen, you do believe there's a man in the clouds watching you.
Oh, yeah, and they'll tell you the straw man.
No, they get angry.
Yeah.
They're angry from the get-go, Reese.
Joe, you don't believe. Not really. You just, it's helpful for you to think that you believe.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is, Joe. Yeah. I can't understand why you're being so angry.
This is why we don't have anti-leprechaun or anti-unicorn clubs, because everyone knows leprechauns and unicorns don't exist.
So there's a reason that anti-unicorn and anti-leprechaun clubs don't exist, because there are no positive leprechaun and unicorn clubs trying to enact policy on the rest of us.
No, they're not forcing us to worship the great unicorn in schools. No. You don't get tax exemption because you ride unicorns, or you believe that you're riding unicorns.
Nor are you telling, say, women what they can do with their bodies.
No, none of that happens.
Or what days that you should be worshipping.
Yep.
What clothes you should be wearing.
What your roles are in society.
Yeah.
Who you can sleep with.
I tell you what,
position.
As soon as a unicorn club comes along and starts doing those sort of things, I will form the anti-unicorn club.
Yep. That's what's going to happen. This is basically the non-stamp collecting situation coming up. It's why do they get on YouTube?
Leave it there. No, go on. You can carry on.
Okay. Why do they get on YouTube without doing any research at all into objections to the nonsense that's in their head?
Because they don't need to.
Exactly.
Because the Bible says that we already believe.
That's it.
They just need to show us that we already believe.
And what does his community do around him? They probably flock around him going, you're so smart for coming up with the same crap that's been pushed across for such a long time. I don't know why most philosophers haven't converted yet, Joe. This is unbelievable. Why is it the world hasn't bent their knee? It must be because they're angry. It can't be because they've used their noggin and they've realised that what you're saying here is complete tripe. Why have you brought me presuppositionalism again, Reese? I'm not happy with it.
Because I already know he's obviously going to go on to say from here is the fact that there are no opposition clubs to these things is indicative that they're not true. Because you wouldn't need to have an opposition club if they, So if you try to argue this, seriously, if you actually talk to an atheist and try to argue this, they're probably going to laugh in your face and walk away.
No. They're going to be angry.
Oh, they're going to get angry. Yeah.
And so we don't create whole social clubs and organizations dedicated to letting little girls and little boys know that there's no such thing as unicorns. There's no such thing as leprechauns. This is why Santa Claus doesn't make half the people mad. We know he doesn't exist.
It's not because we all agree that he doesn't exist or we all know that unicorns don't exist. It's because none of those things are trying to enact policy on our lives.
Yep, that's all it is.
This doesn't obviously just go for Christians, this also goes for Jews and for Muslims. When they're telling us that we have to have Sharia, no, I'm going to argue against that because I don't want it.
Yeah. This
What
reminds me,
policy does a unicorn club have that I need to follow as a non-unicorn believer? None.
I think
So it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Sure, he distracts from Jesus, but he doesn't exist. He's not real. And we don't have organizations dedicated to spreading information about how it's not real, writing books about how they're not real, because they're not real, and we all know that.
Also, how many organizations are spreading that they are real?
None.
I don't...
It's not happening. Hasn't happened at all. So there's no need for an opposition. Look, there's this equation that happens where people say all religions are the same. It's not true, okay? If you're, say, a Jainist, and your moral views, your theistic views, your religious views are going to entail that you don't want to hurt anything, so you go outside and you'll be very cautious of where you step, you don't want to hurt any kind of insect, you're completely vegan, I don't care. And I don't have to deal with you, because you're not going to claim that I have to live according to your lifestyle. And so, I don't spend much time on Jainism. However, what do Christians do? They want to dictate the lives of others. They want the hierarchy of society to comport to how they interpret their scripture.
They want to
That's
tell
a
me
problem.
that their belief is true.
Yeah, that's another thing. They're actually proselytizing.
Yes.
They want to come up to you and go, Reese, this is true. And you go, that sounds like bullshit. And they go, don't be angry. Like, that's what's happening here.
If you want to worship, I don't know, Godzilla, feel free to. As soon as you start telling me Godzilla was real,
Tell you what,
but was he?
let's start, and we're going to go up to Joe, and we're going to go, listen, you can't wear hats anymore. And he's going to say, no, I quite like my hat. And we're going to go, don't be angry. Okay, don't be angry. Joe, listen, you can't have your hat anymore, and that's just the way it is. And he's going to go, no, I don't like that. I'm going to fight against you. I'm going to go, no, we're quite a big community, and we can dictate the rules of life, and we're going to make it so that you can't wear hats. He might team up with someone else that likes hats to fight against us. That is precisely...
Well...
Why is this hard for them to understand?
It's just politics.
Yeah.
It's just politics. That is... two people on opposite sides of a thing. As soon as one starts presenting their idea as the correct one, you're going to have people that counter it. That's all it is.
The fact that you're mad at something, the fact that you're against something is actually evidence that it exists.
Can you dislike the concept of something without saying that the thing is true? In fact, I want to ask him, if I tell him, I don't know, 2 + 2 = 5,
Yep.
would he find that really annoying, especially if I was belligerent about it?
Yeah.
He would find it annoying.
Yeah. It's evidence
but
that it exists.
him finding that annoying is evidence that 2 + 2 does equal 5. It's... having a concept that you dislike isn't the same as that concept being real.
Okay.
I don't know how much I can dumb it down or even try and make entertainment out of that fact. It's just...
I said we're not doing low fruit again because you brought me presuppositionalism. However, this is comedy gold.
It's pretty funny.
And for that reason, I'll flip a coin on it. Unbelievable.
Heads I win, tails you lose.
That sounds absolutely fair. I'm sure everyone watching will be very pleased with that result.
Which is kind of hysterical backfire for the whole atheist worldview. They wouldn't be upset about this. They wouldn't be talking about this if it wasn't real. So that's a really fun fact to start your day off with. The reason they're mad about it.
Insufferable. What is this?
I have a god that has set the maximum beard limit as whatever Steve's got, okay? That is the maximum. And the minimum is what I've got, okay? So anyone else, like you, Joe, you have to shave your beard in accordance with my god's rules.
Yep.
Go ahead, go do it.
Go on, Joe. That's the rules. It's been dictated to you.
It's been dictated to you by my god. If you don't like it, well...
It's evidence for your God.
It's evidence for my god.
1, he's angry. 2, it's evidence for your God.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that atheists are mad at God, that they don't believe in him, what they're essentially trying to do is get back at God for not doing things the way they want.
They're mad at and don't believe in him. You're confused. I can't be mad at a thing that I don't think exists. I can be if I'm mad at all, I can be mad at the people that are proposing that he exists.
Here's an interesting one. Are you mad at Thanos?
No.
See, like, I think there's probably a way that this can be cashed out where I can understand the intuitive thinking, but you're right, you're not mad at Thanos, because a prerequisite to being mad at Thanos is that Thanos actually exists.
Yes.
However, you could be mad at the character of Thanos in the context of it being fiction.
In the context of, I can argue about Thanos' goals
Yeah.
and the logic behind them. Yes.
Yeah. And that's where I think
That's
Joe
analogous.
is getting confused here. It's like, am I angry at God? No, I don't believe God exists. However,
So I could argue vehemently
Yeah.
that his aim to achieve his goal is not only like inefficient, but it's not going to work, and obviously is evil.
Yeah.
I could argue that with him.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean Thanos becomes real.
No, it's not a prerequisite that you believe it, right? So, likewise,
Oh God, I'm just thinking of how many times we've had arguments and discussions over interpretation of, fiction.
Yeah, fiction, yeah, that's it. But like, talking of fiction, in the Bible, you have God telling Moses to take his men, run in, capture people, kill everyone, kill the cattle, and then in another society, take the females as slaves. All of this is describing an incredibly disgusting character.
And if
God.
you argue that it is a good thing, I can be angry at your perception that it is a good thing.
Precisely. Like
Yes.
there's not a contradiction in being angry with something you don't believe in, or angry with the notions that are beset or integrated into that concept.
Yep.
That's not a contradiction.
Perfect.
Most people, when you talk to them about God and you're like, well, hey, why don't you believe in God? Here's how that conversation will go 90% of the time.
Ooh, 90% of the time.
Ooh, okay.
This is how it goes. You
So
ready?
Right. Let's see. Is this...
Is this accurate? Is this accurate?
There's two of us here, so one of us is almost guaranteed to follow this line of thinking.
Oh, for sure.
Well, if God was so good, why bad things happen? So either he's not good or he's not powerful. What they do is they hit you with the problem of evil.
Problem of evil will come up a lot.
Yeah, problem with evil will come up a lot.
Not quite in the form that you've said.
No.
It's not going to be, if God's so good, then why is evil? It would be,
Yeah.
under the position that you've presented me, how do you explain evil?
Also, notice that he's like putting on a voice. He's taking the mic.
We do that. That's fine.
I know, but but my point is that this is very serious in terms of criticism by most theists. They know that this is a serious critique. So if you see someone that's just like, look, there's problem happening where there's like kids dying from cancer. Like, it's not. By the way, that's a clip for the beginning.
The problem is you're saying God is all good. You are claiming God is all good. And I'm going, but here is examples of evil. Now, explain yourself. That is what the problem of evil is attempting to do. It's not... I don't like the framing that he's done, but that's, he's welcome to do
legit. If God is all-powerful, he can do anything within anything that's at least not a contradiction.
But also, I'm going to argue...
And then if he's all-loving, it means that he will. So, if you're presented with gratuitous evil, such as mass extinctions in which billions of innocent sentient creatures get completely churned and destroyed, that is seriously a problem for theism.
Insects that burrow into flesh.
Yeah, like why would he create
the
that?
whole, evolution as a whole in terms of the amount of suffering and death that occurred as a result of
And
that.
then, of course, Frank Turek.
Pre-sup.
Yeah, pre-sup.
But I'd also argue, this does not come up 90% of conversations.
No, it's only 88%, man.
Exactly.
Philosophical conundrum for a good while. If God is love, if God is good, if God is powerful, why do bad things happen in the world?
It's not as simple as why do bad things happen.
No, you can explain
It's look at the level of evil that we see. Because obviously I assume what he's going to get at is bad things happen so that we can have good come out of it. Or we don't know what good is unless we see bad.
Which is a way to describe some forms of
Which
evil.
is a way to describe some forms of evil. However, as we said in the Cameron video, when you have millions of people suffering at the hands of racism, slavery, and all these other things, and your benefit is a single person's moral position,
Yeah.
that is gratuitous evil because the good is outweighed by the evil.
The perfection of
need
narcissism.
You need to then tell me why that level of evil is warranted under your position. It's not that evil exists at all. It's the sheer amount that stands in contrast to the good.
And it goes further. Because you're committed to an all-powerful, all-loving God, you cannot admit of any gratuitous evil. Not one single instance. And if there's sufficient evidence to think that one instance of evil is gratuitous, it's game over. Well, that is the position you hold.
The great thing about evolution for this one, of course, is if God is all-powerful, then he should have made us as is. Because the process of evolution leads to significant suffering and death.
Yeah.
So under the all-powerful and all-good position, creationism would be the way you'd expect to see the world.
Yeah, it would. That's what you would expect. Now, what he's going to do is what theists do all the time, okay? Call me clairvoyant, I've got omnipotence, okay? So, what he's going to do is focus on, if at all, a situation of evil that we can explain, such as humans needing to be able to do some evil.
The whole free will argument.
It will be a free will argument, which simply doesn't address all of the mass extinctions that occurred before we were here. You can't use free will as defense.
You can only
we're not here to be free to will anything.
Yeah, the free will argument they often propose only applies to humans, so it doesn't describe, or it cannot account for pre-human suffering and natural disasters.
And
that's not a result of free will.
I'm thinking now, like the only way you're going to get that to work is if you tell an incredibly unlikely story, such as all of that suffering was needed so that you have free will. As for why God had to do it this way, like
let's take a tsunami example, right?
Yeah.
You know, God wanted those people to enact those acts of saving people and showing how wonderful that humans can be to each other. And to achieve that, he needed to flood their homes, destroy their lives, and kill thousands of people.
Philosophical conundrum for a good while. If God is love, if God is good, if God is powerful, why do bad things happen in the world? There are a lot of answers to that. My favorite being that God is using man's sinfulness to display his glory and love for us in an even brighter way.
He's done it. Yeah, look how wonderful human beings can be to each other when evil occurs.
Yeah, that justifies all of the natural evil. Sure thing.
You can't see light if there's no such thing as darkness. There's an equal and opposite thing for everything. That's one of my favorite answers for the problem of evil.
It's also not an answer to the problem of natural evil.
What you've got...
It's not. Like, it's just not. Like I said earlier that he's done no research. Yeah, that's what you've got. No research.
He said you can't have the light without the darkness, but what he's got is a single little LED in a massive like mansion painted with pitch black paint.
This is all they need though. It's like the fine tuning argument. They go, listen, things are finely tuned for us. It's like, what? We have sometimes we can survive on Earth. Sometimes
on some of Earth.
On some of Earth. Like even if you go out at night, you'll die from hypothermia. But sometimes you get adequate food, adequate nutrition, adequate shelter on Earth. And the Earth is tiny compared to our solar system, which is tiny compared to the galaxy, which is tiny compared to the observable universe. Yeah. And they have the gall to go, look,
it's for us.
Without the dark, you got some finely tuned, bro.
We can go into depth into that more.
No, you can't, can you?
There's I love it when we get these ones in videos. Yeah. We'll cover that another time.
Okay, we go into that. We can go into that depth a little bit more, but you don't need to. Just remember they're angry.
Atheists are angry at God for not doing things the way they want them done.
He actually did go back to atheists, such a thing. So what you've just done is, here's a bunch of arguments. I could go into those, but don't actually worry about those. Just remember, atheists are angry. So why even bring up the problem of evil if you're just going to ignore it?
You angry?
I'm angry.
I'm amused.
I'm angry that he's kind of not only wasting my time, but he's wasting the time of the people watching this and the people that have watched this and then gone to speak to somebody else. He's just wasting.
No, he's not wasting their time. They tune into him to hear the words that they need. Yeah.
But all the people that his followers then go and preach to, their time is wasted.
Yeah, but they've got their story. Don't worry. They already believe anyway, and they're angry. Like, it all makes sense now, you know?
No, it doesn't. You can say that as much as you like, but it will never make sense.
You're just angry, mate. You're just angry.
So when you start dealing with an atheist, what I like to do is look at classical apologetics for starters, and then move into presuppositional apologetics.
Now you're angry.
I fucking can't.
Sit down.
For fuck's sake.
Talk about what those two things are in just a minute. In fact, the presuppositional is my secret weapon, and I'm excited to tell you about that.
The presup is his secret weapon.
Yes. Because remember, there's no winning an argument with a presup.
What's your secret? It's Ben Shapiro. What's your secret weapon? I win anyway. This is incredible.
There's no winning an argument with presup because the fundamental is stupid.
It
and
is
you can't
a
win against
divine
stupid.
lobotomy.
So he likes to start with classical apologetics, and when that inevitably fails, he goes to presup.
Yes.
So basically, all the classical apologetics he thinks are essentially worthless,
Yeah.
but he wants to try them first.
It's Ben Shapiro. It is.
Kind of.
It's also theism in general. Like, from years and years of having these conversations, it's when you start pressuring someone, they give you their answers.
Yes.
You had this with Simon Edwards. And when you push people to the brink...
Zach, the other.
And Zach, yep. Yeah. Like, this happens. As soon as you... One, you're not normally in a position where you can actually have the conversation until you get to the details.
Yeah.
And that's deliberate. They design this deliberately for when it comes to public discourse. Secondly, is that if you do get down to the nitty-gritty, they will give you faith.
Yeah.
It's presuppositionalism.
We
and then they
start with the
attacking your
position of
view,
God
going, "Oh, you
and
can't
then try
account
and
for
fill
this."
in.
Yeah. It's, to be honest with you, I think Joe's just more honest and frankly doesn't understand the optics and the dialectic, and thus is just being opaque with the way that apologetics works. It does work this way.
What I want
William
him to
Lane
know...
Craig has said this.
He has.
Yeah.
Yes, he has.
He says even if there was arguments...
Even
for
if all
Jesus,
the evidence pointed in the opposite
I
direction,
would
he
still
would not...
believe because of personal experience. Yeah,
You're right.
It really is this.
And that kind of goes to show is when people are on presup, you'll never change their mind. No. You just can't. There's basically no point arguing with them at that point. Is they've assumed their position is true no matter what. But the same goes for them the other way. You will never convince someone using presup. Because anyone who hasn't already started with presup will just look at you like you're talking bullshit, because you are. So this is going to get into absolutely worthless territory very soon.
Classical apologetics, there's several great arguments to come across this. My favorite argument is the watching the field argument.
Hey, you're not allowed to laugh. This is also your favourite argument for the existence of God.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Like, I get it. I know why.
It's always presented pretty poorly, though. So,
it's just an intuitive, very intuitive thing. This shows he doesn't know anything about any of this
you
stuff.
can't laugh.
No, he really like the watchmaker analogy. Like most Christian. No, they are still touching this, aren't they? They
often still
They
bring
go,
us
no, I
up.
accept evolution, but only micro-evolution, and I'm going to give you the watchmaker argument anyway.
Yeah,
That's
that
what
one
you
comes
get.
up quite often.
Yeah.
So what this does tell you, though, he's created a video on how to witness to atheists. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's actually ever spoken to an atheist.
I cannot understate how bad this is. He goes, look, you approach the atheist. One, keep this in your back pocket. He already knows that God exists. Two, he's angry, and that's the only reason he's opposing you. And the fact that he's angry at all is evidence that your God exists.
Yeah, tell him that.
Then what you're going to do is you're going to come out with a classic, all right? You're going to pull out an argument that was debunked by David Hume 300 years ago before we discovered evolution by natural selection and has since been laughed out of any kind of academic establishment. You're going to bring that out. You're going to give it to them. They're going to reject it because they're angry at God. Then what you're going to do, okay, at this point, you are going to get out your secret weapon and you're just going to go, I win because presuppositionalism, and then you're going to dust your hands off and you're going to walk away and be like, yeah, I sure showed that atheist. Fair?
Pretty much.
And so when I dealt with some atheists actually on the boardwalk of New Jersey not too long ago, I used this illustration. I said, if you were going in a field and you found a watch in that field, how do you think that watch got there?
Oh, we're gonna.
Oh,
are we gonna have-
he's got us. He's got us.
We're gonna have to give like all the refutations here for the watchmaker analogy.
No, we're
Oh, just watch my video on it. Like, for goodness sake, we'll deal with that another time.
we'll get a couple, but
also,
let's just start for now.
Okay,
I'll accept this thing.
okay.
If
But
you
okay.
find a watch in a field.
But notice the way that he approached this. He said, when you have to deal with some atheists, like, it's just no love here, man. Like, there's no like respect for disagreement, on rational disagreement, on deep questions where none of us have access to perfect knowledge. This is the worst thing about presuppositionalism.
The problem is, it's not access to perfect knowledge.
If you give me a presup, I will give you an arrogant, incredibly annoying person. That is what you get from presup, because it allows them
more
to speak
arrogant
like
and
that.
annoying than creationists.
Yes. Okay. But in their defence, they tend to also be
They
creationists.
often tend to be.
And
but-
this is why he went, look, watchmaker analogy, creationism, and presup.
But for now, let's accept if we find a watch in a field, it's probably a person dropped it there.
And they both said, somebody must have dropped their watch. And I said, what? You mean you don't think this is a watch field? And if I fertilize it and plow it and water it, that it'll start growing Rolexes and I'll get rich harvesting my watches?
And they all looked at you as if you were insane and walked off.
I reckon they looked at him, one turned to the other and went, this man strikes me as somebody who doesn't realise that watches don't fuck. And thus, they don't reproduce.
Yes.
This is an interesting
In
vibe.
fact, we've had this discussion with Kent Hovind in the car thing, haven't we?
This comes up so often, dude. It really does.
Yes. Reproduction is a big thing into why complexity exists.
You know what?
Essentially. And then the other fact is we have all examples of where watches come from.
Yep.
So we have factories.
Yep.
We have the people that produce them. We have the people that designed them. So we know who makes them. We have no prior examples of nature.
You know what, Reese? This does actually make me angry. I'm angry at how ineffective schools
Education,
are,
yeah.
or how effective homeschooling is.
And they're like, that's stupid. And I'm like, exactly. So the fact that there's something that's clearly designed in the middle of a field.
It's clearly designed because we have examples of people who have designed them.
You could put it this way,
can't-
right? Sorry to cut you off, but look, how many examples do you have of watches turning up naturally? None. How many of them do you have turning up because of human teleology? All of them. Now,
How many examples do you have of someone making a rock from nothing?
none. How many examples do you have of nature having a rock? Maybe from nothing. Well, it came from somewhere. right?
The thing would be is if God made it,
Yeah.
he made it from nothing because
Yeah.
it popped into existence.
Yeah, but he
So-
can't make that inference because we don't have.
We
that
don't have
knowledge.
examples of that. Whereas a rock that is the
Yep.
result of the formation of the Earth
Yep.
over billions of years. Well, yeah, we can kind of demonstrate that when we look at the deposits in the rock and where that rock probably came from and how old it is.
Let's go back to Darwin, right? Dogs. He's looking at dogs, he's looking at pigeons, he's looking at domesticated animals.
Yes.
And he sees that dog breeds are different. Now, this isn't because a human created a pug. It's not because a human created and like stretched out to
a
get a
good
Great
example.
Dane, right? That's not how that works. Rather, you saw that you have dogs and you breed those that have the traits that you want so that their lineage has that result. We know that artificial selection works. We've known it for a very long time. The Greeks know it. Like, this
the
has been known
perfect
for
counter.
2,000 years, right? So we know that if you want diversity in life, this is how you achieve it. Now, can nature do that without the artificial selection of us?
Can it?
Yes, it's called natural selection. That's what it is.
Can a watch do that?
Now, can a watch do that? No, because, as we said earlier,
It don't fuck.
it don't fuck.
So the fact that there's something that's clearly designed in the middle of a field where we know if you left a barn out in that field for 100 years, it'd just disintegrate into nothing. We know that for a watch to be there, someone dropped the watch. We know there's a God because we have intelligently designed things all around us.
Wonderful. Now prove to me that they were intelligently designed.
Yep.
And not through, this inference of that thing is intelligently designed and therefore everything must be.
Yep.
Because that's fallacious. What can you do? How can you demonstrate this sort of any easier? Just because, right, this thing is made of glass.
We're not sponsored by them, by the way.
No.
But if you want to send us a crate, guys, like we take it.
This is his logic. This thing is made of glass, and therefore, so is this.
Yeah, it's a false analogy is basically what this is. And it really is a basic fallacy and a basic mistake. But
yeah,
that's
you can't,
why it was something we were doing 400 years ago.
You can't apply facts about one object to another object, let alone everything.
And the thing he's actually implicitly getting at here is complexity. He's
Yes.
saying complexity is always created by an intelligent being. And he's saying, look, the watch is an example of this. The watch is complex, and the watch is a product of an intelligent mind. Now,
Except for
life
we've
is
witnessed,
complex.
for example, the eye with
Yeah.
the development from light-sensitive cells.
Yes, yeah.
We've witnessed the
yeah.
simple to complex.
Yes.
We've got examples of it.
This is the problem. You have to ignore evolution by natural selection. You have to be 300 years behind on science, and at least 200. And that's what they do very well. It seems they've intelligently designed their environment so that they don't understand intelligent design.
What I find particularly amusing is someone like this. I'm sure he would. Islam is so backwards. It's like, yes, but you're still 200 years behind. You're not doing that great.
Also, if he's this behind on science, think about where he's going to be on social issues.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness me.
We know these things don't pop up from nothing. We've never been walking around the road and bam, molecules align to give us a new car. It doesn't work that way.
But watches don't pop up from fucking either, so... I just want him to address that. Please, watches don't pop up from fucking.
So even atheists have to apply their own logic to try to understand these things. And I always challenge the atheists, hey, if you wouldn't use this logic to explain a watch in a field, why would you use this logic to answer away your problem of an eternal destination and God that immediately affects you right here on Earth?
The problem you've got there is just because I can assume that an object that has prior examples that have been designed doesn't mean that I can apply that principle to every single other thing I encounter in my life. That you'll conflate... Oh, God.
I mean, another thing to be added to this, right,
Just
is he said...
repeating myself, sorry.
No, I get it. You seem kind of angry. But now, right, okay, he said, okay, but don't worry, you believe in God, so you're going to be all right anyway. He said they can't even use their own logic. He hasn't told us what their logic is. He's said what his logic is behind intelligent design, which is essentially everything is intelligently designed.
Well,
we can
what he's saying
intuitively
is
tell.
your logic of intuitively thinking that a watch is designed,
Yeah.
therefore...
But he hasn't asked them or given any information for why they gave him this answer. Because they're not going to say, yeah, it's complex, that's why it's intelligently designed. And if they do, which they're not, but if they do, they're just mistaken. That's not how it works.
Who was it who said it? It's like...
I mean,
asking
God.
someone therefore is quite a good way to dig at something.
Yeah.
This is a glass bottle. Therefore,
What? You know,
what are you assuming just because this is a glass bottle?
unless we're going to unless we do a tautology and it's something to do with the glass bottle,
This is a mobile phone.
Yes.
Therefore,
atheists are angry. That's where we're going.
this is what he's doing though. He's gone, this is a mobile phone.
Yeah.
Therefore, Earth was intelligently designed.
How do you dig this shit up, Reese? Like this is something else. This was buried. This was buried from 400 years back. This bit of fruit. It's a raisin.
Did it pass through an animal first?
Probably, yeah. Probably several.
And they usually just kind of blow that off or whatever, and that's fine.
Or whatever.
Yeah, we blow
whatever.
it. We blow it off, probably in the same way that we've just done by pointing out that your thinking is garbage.
That's their issue. But here's the secret weapon.
Sorry, I love that bit. That's their issue.
That's their issue, yeah.
No, it's yours as well. It's really much
Listen,
yours
you
in a
came
very different sense.
Yeah, you came up to them with this really crap, outdated argument. That's their issue if they couldn't see immediately that, you know, it's actually great.
I'm 200 years behind everyone else. That's their issue.
That's their
They've got to bring their thinking back down a step. That's their
That's
issue.
their issue. That's unbelievable. They need to presuppose my worldview. That's their issue.
And here's what I like to point people to. Number one is every atheist deep down actually believes two things.
Oh, we believe two things.
I believe more than two things.
Deep down? Or is it deep down, or is it just like one layer? Like where
I'm not that deep.
You're not that deep. So actually, none of your beliefs hit the deep because he's just not. Deep,
I have no
right?
beliefs here.
No, all of my beliefs are deep. So you know, let's find out.
It's actually quite funny. It's like, just to say they have two positions deep down. It's like, you don't know how deeply anyone holds conviction to anything.
Yeah.
Let alone what ones are, you know, held at their core.
No, this guy's got a superpower. He can just look at people and go, I know what level of
I-
credence
he
you put
only-
to these things, even though most people don't even know what level of credence they
I
put
do
to
know.
anything.
I do know that he holds one.
Presuppositionalism.
Yes.
Yes, that's true. We're sure about him.
But he's told us that.
Yeah.
They know they have an eternal destination.
An eternal destination
Um,
in the ground.
as particles
Sure,
that
okay.
continue to exist in some form.
Yeah, like, okay, eternal destination, if you're willing to accept.
No, it's not.
At least-
That's not an eternal destination in the ground though, because the Earth is still moving through space, so it's not stopped. So it's not. We've not reached a destination.
How about this then? Okay. Listen, relativity came like, you know, last 100 years, so he's definitely not going to be on board with that one. The
No,
Earth
no,
is
it's
still.
way too recent.
No, he won't. He'll be okay with that because it doesn't contradict his worldview. So
You sure? It might.
it probably does. It probably does. But like, unless he knows it, that's when he can discard it. That's how that works.
So
Okay, how about this for eternity then?
annihilation.
Annihilation. My consciousness.
Is
at
that a
least.
destination?
Next up, annihilation. That's where you're going, sir. I mean, yeah. I mean, look. Before you were born, was you annihilated? Okay, maybe that doesn't make
Doesn't make
sense. But like, you know that state of nothing?
Yes, the state of non-existence.
That's your destination. That was your beginning, and that's where you're going back.
Yes.
Happy to call that a destination?
As long as I don't have to go through destination fuck to get there, yes.
Yeah. That's it. You just don't want it to be painful on the way out. But fine, you know, we'll give you that. Destination works, but not theological.
No.
And they know they are guilty before God.
Guilty before God.
I don't actually know what he means by
Well, he's going to be talking about inherited sin. He's going to be talking about you're not perfect, and therefore. But then he's also saying before God, which means he's saying every atheist is actually a theist. He solved it,
done it.
guys. It's over. Turns out everyone's a theist. It's just some of us are angry, and that's what we call atheists.
Here's a question for you. If literally every person to have ever existed is guilty as such of the same thing, can you really be guilty of it, or is it not like a baseline thing for humans?
Yeah, you can still be guilty of it. It's
No,
just a
but
baseline.
if it's a baseline,
We
yeah,
are
but what I mean is,
created
do you-
sick and
No,
commanded
but-
to be well.
But if I ignore the theistic side of it, if humans are a thing at a baseline, can you be guilty of that baseline, or should you feel guilt of that baseline?
So you're asking if
This is way too complex a question for this,
listen,
isn't it?
This is philosophical ground on RR, okay? But fine, we'll bring it into low fruit. So you're asking if you're born a certain way with certain traits, can you be held responsible
No.
for those traits?
No,
Or-
because you can be held responsible for it.
So what is it you're
Should you feel guilty of those? So should you regret?
should you feel
essentially?
guilty for being the way that you are?
Yeah.
Even if you're trying to work on it. I need to think about it more, but my inclination is no. But it does help to be motivated to try and fix those issues if they are issues.
Yeah, I agree.
For
Motivation
instance,
to fix them.
I think humans are born with a couple of things that are bad, objective. We'll put that aside.
In the sense of reaching a goal for the betterment
Yeah.
of humanity.
It's
It's
bad
subjective.
in the sense that we're born tribalistic.
Yep.
And we have a propensity towards bigotry because of that.
Yep.
It's bad that we rely on our intuitions when our intuitions are obviously dog shit at tracing, deeply metaphysical questions, as Joe has illustrated. And we tend to be way too confident in our views.
Yep. So what I'd say is I've, at some point, demonstrated all of those.
Oh yeah, same.
However, I don't feel guilty of any of them.
No.
But I have worked to avoid them.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I kind of recognise that they're just innate traits of who we are.
It's an interesting philosophical question
yeah.
that doesn't belong here.
No, not necessarily, but it's just the fact that he's raised this of you're guilty before God, and I'm like, but if all humans have this thing, should you really be guilty of it? I just don't.
It's hard, man.
Especially when we know that what he's actually arguing is we are guilty of having fallen into God's trap.
Yes, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
And because the Bible tells us about it in both of these verses, we know that the law of God is written on the heart of man. We know that every man knows that he is destined for an eternity.
Right. So, the Bible says it, therefore atheists who don't believe in the Bible believe it.
I really do not understand how a human being can be this dense.
Therefore Buddhists who haven't read the Bible believe in the Bible. Therefore Hindus who haven't read the Bible believe in the Bible. Therefore Shintoists who haven't read the Bible believe in the Bible. You cannot apply your book to all of humanity. You just can't. Sorry, I've cut you off. I am now annoyed.
I'm bemused. Like, it's the idea of, listen, if you want to convince someone of the proposition that you believe in, you don't need to.
Because they already believe it.
Because the proposition that you believe in has told you that they already believe it.
Yeah. It's quite possibly one of the most ignorant things you can say.
I hate presuppositionalism. It turns good people into fucking morons. Insufferable morons. There you go, you made me angry. Like, what a dick.
Let's say it's incredibly ignorant, it's incredibly arrogant to say...
Oh, the arrogance of it,
Because
man.
what he's essentially saying is, you agree with me, you just don't want to admit that you agree with me.
Oh no, but they get to cover their arse here by going, listen, we're humble. we're humble, you're angry.
I'm right, you
Yeah.
just don't want to admit that I'm right.
Yeah, the world is...
And I'm so
broken.
humble for teaching you to acknowledge that I am in fact right.
Somewhere, and they know that deep down. So I actually really prefer a Ray Comfort based style of evangelism.
Now the watchmaker, the banana,
Yeah.
a painting always has a painter. Oh, no!
That's wonderful.
The banana is perfectly designed to go right into your hole.
The clown
Right.
makeup is complete.
Oh wow! Wow! Oh, beautiful.
Ray Comfort is one of the most worthless apologists I've ever seen. You know his whole spiel about, oh, have you ever coveted? Have you ever lied?
Mm-hmm.
It's worthless because he doesn't account for context in any of them. As we did in the one the other week with, you know, oh, knock at the door. Are there any Jews hiding in your house?
Yep.
Well, I can't lie because that would be
Oh
immoral.
no! So that's it
Like-
done. Yeah, I've lied before.
Has he never understood the concept of, I don't know, lying to interfere with someone who might be attacked?
Yeah.
You know, because I remember seeing one with a case of someone was being followed down the street or something, and she ducked behind another guy, and he just said, leave my girlfriend alone, sort of thing. Never met her before.
Yeah.
But the guy, as a result of that, walked away and left it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was a lie.
Yeah.
It benefited the person from avoiding an attack. So, obviously, lies by themselves aren't immoral. Ditch that Ray Comfort, it's worthless. Coveting things. Do you know why I work hard towards certain goals? It's because I want them.
Oh, okay. It's not because you're angry. Okay. So there's nothing like that happening in the background.
Desiring something that someone else has is actually kind of one of the principles behind capitalism. That's why I will then try and earn the money in order to buy the thing that somebody else has.
Absolutely. It's something that's rewarded under a capitalist regime, and
all of the things that Ray sort of brings up in his little spiel to people that, you know, obviously he only does it with the morons that don't know how to respond to any of this, and he cuts off all the people that give him good responses.
Yeah.
They're rubbish. They're really, really rubbish. I just don't know what else to say.
It comes down to the created sick and commanded to be well element, right? So one of the things he says is, have you ever lusted over someone? He's like, well, God's made it, so I'm going to make a billion sperm in my lifetime. Yes, have I ever thought I want to get some of that out? Yes. Yes, Ray. Like, I'm made this way. And he's like, oh, that's guilty. According to you and your book and your nonsense, where you're like... this is the other thing with Christianity in general. It's so sadomasochist. It's like they enjoy being under the heel with this dominatrix of a god. Like, it's just odd.
They are.
I mean, no kink shame. You do you. But like all the time? Come on. Thought crime?
They are pro-slavery.
They are pro-slavery.
And I don't mean on earth slavery. They wish to be slaves, and that's why they're able to justify it over their fellow man.
And they were pro-slavery on earth until they went woke.
If we're not familiar with Ray Comfort, the Living Waters YouTube channel is kind of the main place I go to see that. I've watched a bunch of their videos with youth groups and stuff to help train kids in evangelism.
Train kids.
But Ray Comfort has a great way. He works people down the idea that they can make mistakes and so they shouldn't be the ultimate authority. He works down the ideas of we all stand guilty before God.
So he taught you that you can make mistakes and so you shouldn't be the authority, and so you run up to people and you assume that they're angry.
Hang on. We made mistakes, therefore we can't be an authority.
Yeah.
Did not God admit to making a mistake with the flood?
I don't know. I don't think he did. I think he was perfectly fine with that genocide.
Well, I thought he regretted it.
You might be right.
If it's a regret, then...
But also, like, God changes his mind, which has the implication of regret. So he says to Abraham, stab your little boy for me. And
well, they'll pass that out
as
a test. A test to see if he was
he was testing him. He was going, I want to test your moral resolve by seeing if you'll do something completely immoral.
It's been a long time since I read any of that crap, but...
Yep. But no,
I'm pretty sure regretting something is indicative of being mistaken on something.
12 seconds later.
All right, so we've looked it up, which is more than Joe's ever done, and it turns out that God has had quite a few regrets. You were absolutely correct. In Genesis, no less. Well, we can give 3 examples from Genesis if we wanted to.
Here's a couple of examples. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. I regret making them.
Yep.
So that's pretty bad.
That's a mistake, isn't it?
That's, yes. Well,
Ooh.
I regret making man.
Yeah.
That strikes me that he's essentially saying it was a mistake to make man.
Now, how does an all-knowing God make a mistake? I don't know.
I don't know. And then when he says in his heart, I will not again curse the ground anymore for man's sake, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, neither will I again smite any more living thing as I have done. Generally, when you're saying that, I'm not going to do that again, that's kind of like an apology.
If you're going to say you're not going to do it again, there's regret in it.
There's regret in that action.
And what does regret mean? It means a mistake.
It implies that it was a mistake to do that
Yeah,
thing.
you go, I was wrong. You know, like I shouldn't have done that. That was a bad idea.
And therefore he establishes a covenant that he will not do it again. So, well, it seems to me then, just going off of the story of the flood at least, and not obviously accounting for any of the horrors...
Joe's reasoning.
By any of the horrors of the Bible, that, by Joe's reasoning, God shouldn't be an authority.
Thanks, Ray Comfort. You've just made us atheists.
We need a savior. He's really great at that. But when you are approaching an atheist, here's my thing. Number one, you need to know they actually believe God exists. And that's something you need to keep in your back pocket.
And if you try and keep that in your back pocket, you are guaranteed to lose any argument with an atheist.
And you're probably going to make them angry. So
and you probably
that would
will
affirm
annoy
your-
them, yes. Yeah. Because you cannot confidently declare that you know what someone else believes without them giving you anything. If they state the opposite, for the purpose of the argument, you should take them at their word. If you've been given evidence that demonstrates otherwise, you know, of them acting in a certain way or whatever, well, then you've got something that contradicts their words.
This is the problem. He's going to say that the evidence is the Bible tells you that they believe otherwise.
So
He's using
I know what
the
you're
very
getting at there.
proposition.
But that's the precept thing.
It's the precept thing.
Yeah, you're assuming that the actions that people do that are good.
Anyone can play this game. There's no way to distinguish between the Christian zealot
Well,
and the Islamic
here's kind of
zealot.
what I'm getting at with the anyone can play this game.
Yeah.
I can equally, if a Christian that he has taught comes up to me and says, but you do believe, I can say, but you don't.
Yeah.
And we both have the same bullshit behind us of declaring that the other person thinks something.
Yep.
It's worthless.
In fact, you could say, as a presupposition, you could say, I know that
I know that you don't.
Yeah, I know that you don't because you're a human being that has access to the same information as me.
I know that you don't. That's why you're arguing with me.
And that's why you're angry. And that's why, yeah, that's it.
It just, when you've got something that works like this both ways, it's pointless.
Yeah.
They're mad at God. Look for the hurt. Because when you can find the emotional force that's driving their argument and realize that this is not a logic-based argument, because logically, duh, there's a God.
Oof. That was a nice little collection there, wasn't it? Logically, duh, there's a God.
This is insufferable.
But I love the bit to begin with there. Look for the hurt. Again, he's assuming that we're angry because of something. He's assuming that we're emotionally involved in it. Do you?
It's a logical argument,
I
Joe.
know you know, and I know probably some of our audience know. Why did I become an atheist? Well, I was about 10, I think, and I read the Bible, and I thought it was kind of horseshit.
Yep. Oh, but where's the hurt?
That I was given a book of bollocks.
This is it. Right? It's yeah.
Yeah, there was, in terms of my conversion, which prior to me being 10, I'd found church very boring anyway, so I wasn't interested. I was Christian by default, I guess you could say, in that my parents believed and I went whenever my parents did. But otherwise, I didn't really care. And then I read the Bible, thought it was crap, threw it away. And then it wasn't a thing until I was like 20-something. It never really came up again.
I mean,
There's no hurt involved in that. There's no emotion involved in that. There is only, this doesn't make much sense. So, logic, which is contrary to what he's just said well, it's not a logical position.
yeah. I mean, but he can just presuppose that it is.
But he can just presuppose that it is.
Because likewise, I hit the age of reason. I started asking questions. I was like, well, these answers are really crap. This is almost certainly bullshit. That's it. Done. Then as I got older, I was like, oh, not only is this bullshit, it is hurting and wrecking lives. Then I started getting angry. But notice that it's the equivalent to getting angry at Thanos. If our culture started implementing Thanos' doctrine...
Oh, what? Exterminating half of everyone.
If they started, you know, pushing anything like that, yeah, I'm going to get angry. But the anger and the emotion is... I mean, like, I guess in the context of problem of evil, right, you're trying to illustrate to people that their intuitions are entirely opposed to the divine command theory that you find in the Bible. You know, the Bible tells you not only to have where to get your slaves, but that you can hand them down as property. This is just a fact, and this goes against your intuitions, which is where your emotions, because your intuitions are going to be emotionally based in almost all. I mean, you've got some rationale with your intuitions, but most of them are emotional based. It's just you can't have this conversation with him. There's no nuance.
I have another route I want to go down though.
All right.
That I find quite amusing, and yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'll do it. It's gonna have Hitler in it again. Okay. But let's assume his assumption, yeah, that God is real, okay, and we all do actually believe it. Might we have reason to be angry at that God and not be very happy with it? And by that I mean is, we know Hitler existed. Do I have reason to be angry that Hitler did the things that he did?
Yes.
Yes. So if God does exist, would I have reason to be angry that God has done the things that he had?
Yes.
So he still doesn't really win, because even if I then believe that the Christian God existed, it's a monster and I'm not worshipping it. I'm not joining him in church.
No.
So in any way he cashes this out to me, and even if he manages to convince me that his God is real, I still hate it.
That's fair.
Or at least I would become able to hate it, because now I have something that can be a target of the hate.
Reese, there's too much complexity, too much nuance here, okay? Let's go back to the one-dimensional nonsense that Joe's espousing, okay?
All right, we'll drop Hitler.
Finally.
Funny enough, I know there's a sort of general thing of, Godwin's law, anyone who brings up Hitler in an argument is blah, blah, blah.
It's done because it's the only fucking thing people know from history.
But Hitler is very, very useful
Yeah.
to determine, the extremes of a position and whether you would establish something as, say, moral.
Yeah.
He is handy. He is he is big. under his worldview. Under his worldview, Hitler has been a benefit to the world.
You're not fixing that one, Reese. It's fucking great.
I want to get it out. Under his worldview, remember, evil exists so good can come of it. That means, under his worldview, that Hitler has been good for the world. You have to say it.
Oh my god.
Am I right or am I right?
This is an emotionally based argument. That's where you're actually going to minister to the person. And there's a good chance that if you can minister to them and their hurt and their need and their anger, that's actually going to be a better place to start before trying to logically convince them of constructs they're not capable of understanding because they're so emotionally involved in their hurt and their pain.
Oof. Aside from that last part, what I love is he kind of said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
If you can emotionally manipulate them.
Yes, if you realise it's an emotional game to win Christians over, you talk about life after death, you talk about justice, you do this stuff, rather than deal with the arguments. That's when you're going to be able to make...
I don't have to demonstrate something is true if I can emotionally manipulate you into just trusting me.
You're right.
It's actually... I'm going to just describe it as that is abusive.
Yes, it is, yeah.
His essentially what he's describing in terms of his ministration there is abuse.
You also have this scenario here, right? He turns up, he gives you the watchmaker analogy, because of course he does. You get frustrated.
Oh, we're building on your thing from earlier.
He doesn't ask what your reasoning is, right? He just tells you what your reasoning is. He then says, don't worry, you've got to deal with the atheist in an emotional way, because their argument, which he hasn't heard and he hasn't presented, their argument is secondary, is actually because they're emotionally hurt.
And that's why they bring out the problem of evil. But don't worry about the problem of evil, because Hitler was good for the world, actually.
We're trying to get monetized.
And then
You're going to make it so we have to create a Patreon account just to be able to deal with your obsession. What are you doing? It's not okay.
And then from that step, because they're not convinced, because that's not very convincing to anyone, he goes, okay, don't worry about those arguments.
Yeah.
You do believe.
They're so emotionally involved in their hurt and their pain. So start by ministering to them there. Maybe you want to use some classical apologetics to frame the argument and make a worldview where they understand logically, scientifically, the best explanation for how we're here is that there was a God, but then move into your secret weapon. Know that deep down, they know they have an eternal destination. Deep down, they know they have violated the laws of God and they need help.
Which laws of God? Because God gave not only contradictory 10 commandments, because I think there's something like 14 or 15 by the time he's finished, but also contradictory laws. I also, I don't get my slaves from the lands around me, unfortunately.
Oh, do you not?
No,
Oh.
I breed them in the cellar below my house.
Okay, that's fine. Don't worry about
No,
it.
it's not. I have to get them from the lands around me.
No, it's inheritance.
Oh, right.
If you give them a wife as well, they'll stay with you forever. If it's a female, you can keep it forever anyway. It's only the males that you got to let go, and that's only if they're off your descent.
So... Well,
I mean, we're buggered anyway, because neither of us are Jews.
That's true. Neither of us are... Yeah.
So, we don't get this, but we're foreigners. We do our own crap.
I'm trying to think, what laws can I possibly even try and follow,
Now,
I haven't killed, so there's, I suppose
you know what?
there's that.
This actually brings up something that's quite important. I've been meaning to have a word with you about this. You've been mixing cotton and linen.
Oh, damn.
That's in the Bible. It's telling you not to do it. Now, the real reason
I did
it's
eat
telling
pork
you not to
as
do
well. There was that too, for a
it.
while.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah. You used to eat pork, didn't you? Oh, sin.
Shit.
Sin.
What else have I can't remember half the laws.
Such a sinner. Such a sinner. Don't worry. Most Christians can't eat.
No, that's true.
You're fine.
Yeah. The funny thing is he does want to treat God as as Gothics put it, a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
I know she didn't consider it that way. She considered atheists having a get out of jail free card, but that doesn't make any sense. What he wants to do is to be able to do all the things that he says we're doing as sin. He wants to be able to do all of them and then go, but I do worship God, and therefore I'm absolved of those sins. Who's got the get out of jail free card?
I believe it might be him.
I believe it might be Joe.
Yep. It's yeah. Nothing else to add.
Because that was probably the one thing in Gothic thing that just sort of bugged me a little bit, of this idea of, well, atheists don't believe because they want to sin. That doesn't make any logical sense at all. And I know he obviously saying you do believe, but I imagine one of his claims would be you pretend you don't so that you can do things. But if we do actually deep down believe, then we would know that we're going to be punished for those things. So that doesn't make any sense at all. It's an incoherent position to hold. And my stomach is going, so I must be hungry.
Shall I sign us off? Let's get to it.
Yep.
All right, ready?
Go for it.
Well, there you have it. A fine choice from Reese of presuppositionalism. Unbelievable.
Did you know he's got a second video where he responded to the people that said that this was a shit video?
Ooh, that sounds amazing. Yay. Let's do that at some point. Yay.
Upvote if you think that we should.
Yeah. If you want me to be in more pain, then request that we take on this guy. Or if you have anyone else you want us to take on, let us know. Because we are back in action. How does it feel to be back, Reese? Are you feeling the love?
Oh, I'm loving this. This
Yeah?
is great fun.
Yep.
Yeah, I've missed this.
As you can see, Reese he's taken some time off and he's come back with a new fire in himself and an ability to bring up Hitler all the time.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
He's not sorry. Look, we're
you'll have to
back,
cut some of the
enjoying
coffee.
ourselves. This has been emotional. And yeah, like, subscribe, all the other crap. Oh, by the way, he's got a channel if you want to check it out. He like walks around castles and goes meh, meh,
So it's
meh.
only been dead for about a year.
It's only been dead for about a year.
But a channel that is alive,
Yeah.
that we also do,
Oh,
is
yes.
Media Musings.
Yes.
So if you enjoy, say, analysis of films and TV and video games, scene-by-scene breakdowns, things like that, go check us out over at Media Musings. I'll put the link below.
We're just taking over the internet, Reese.
Yes, let's try. Let's try and take it over.
You haven't named he who cannot be named on that channel yet, so that's good.
Have we not?
Don't you start.
There's been no need.
Yeah,
It doesn't come up when we know. It's relevant when we're talking about Christians.
yeah, it is. Yeah. Comes up a lot.
Bye.
Bye.